Story by a fan, Monaco, congrats for getting picked. And anyways, story time about why you should never online date. So a little background information, this was about 6 years ago and I was in roughly 2nd grade. Okay, so me and my friend we're gonna have a sleepover together and we planned everything. We were gonna eat food and chill, have a good time and just mess around. It got kind of boring, so we decided to download Roblox, and the both of us thought it was a good idea to find some boyfriends because it would be fun. Or so we thought, because it wasn't a very good idea afterwards. So anyways, we played some games and we found some boy players, we spoke to them and eventually we decided to date them. A few weeks passed and my friend came up to me to tell me that she broke up with her online boyfriend, because he was acting and being creepy towards her. I asked her what she meant but she ignored me and walked away. I was really confused, but then a week later I see my parents are watching the news, and I'm like, I'll just watch it too. And what appeared on the news shocked me. On the news it read, a 9-year-old was abducted today at 3:22. They even showed the picture of my friend's face. I started to scream as my parents looked at me, and I said, "That's my friend." I was crying, tears rolling down my face. I tried to message her saying, "Oh my gosh, are you okay?" But no reply. I haven't talked or seen to her since.
Story time. My boyfriend found out that his best friend got me pregnant. It was my junior year in high school and my boyfriend and I had been dating for 4 months. Well, the one night his friend and I were all supposed to go to this party. My boyfriend ended up getting called into work that night, so his friend and I went. Which my boyfriend was fine with because he wanted his best friend to keep an eye on me, but he also trusted us. Anyway, so his friend and I ended up going to the party and then but the next morning I woke up, I didn't remember that at all. So fast forward, I find out that I'm pregnant. Well, me forgetting that I totally cheated on my boyfriend, I thought that it was his. Well, a week later, I get a text from his friend. He's like, "Oh my god, what are we gonna do?" And I'm like, "What do you mean, what are we gonna do?" So then he filled me in on the whole situation that I didn't remember. But I was like, there's really no chance of this because my boyfriend and I fucked like a million times and me and you fucked once. The real tea is that my boyfriend was black and his friend was white. Well, me being the ass that I am, I was like, well, let's just wait it out. I bet it's not him. Part 2 about how my boyfriend found out that his best friend got me pregnant. So like I said, my boyfriend was black, his best friend was white, and because I doubted that it was his best friend's kid, I decided to wait it out. Say it with me, bad idea. So fast forward, I'm in the delivery room and I decide not to have my boyfriend in there. Well, let's just say good thing that he did. Bitch, whenever this thing popped out, it was white as fucking paper. So I was like to the doctor, "Oh my gosh, like I'm gonna have a panic attack. Please get the baby out of the room. I don't want anybody around the baby right now." So when my boyfriend came back in the room, I was like, "Oh, we can't see the baby. He's having some issues." He's over here freaking out. I'm having a panic attack about what I'm gonna do. And they brought my kid back and I was like, "That's not my kid." And this girl looked so confused. She was like, oh, okay. And my boyfriend and I are laughing. We're like, "Oh, haha, that's funny." Then she comes back into the room and she's like, "Ma'am, this is your kid." So my boyfriend started screaming, and he broke up with me after that. Like, how rude to just leave me with a kid by myself. No, I'm just joking. I know that was pretty. Story time. My dad got my half-brother's girlfriend pregnant. A little background information. This all happened a few years ago. Anyways, my brother was fresh out of high school and he had been dating this girl named Serena for 2 years. And my dad, for some reason, hated her. At least that's what we thought. Well, my brother didn't have a license at the time, so every time that she came over, she needed somebody to drop her off at home. So my dad would always offer to drop her off at home, even though he literally hated her. And he could have just ordered her an Uber, which is what he did with all of my friends. Well, the one night her parents called and they were like, "Hey, like, is Serena still there? She hasn't came home yet." And my dad said that he was dropping her off. So I called my dad and he said that they ran out of gas on the side of the road. So that was just like one incident. Well, the next morning my mom goes to get in the car for work and she finds a thong in the car. So she brings it in the house and she asks me, "Hey, is this yours?" Meanwhile, I had never seen them before. So then she goes and asks my half-brother and my dad's whose they are. Part 2 about how my dad got my half-brother's girlfriend pregnant. So like I said, my mom found that in the car. She came and asked me if it was mine. I said no. So then she asked my dad and my brother whose they were. So she asked my dad first. He said, "I don't know whose they are." He said they probably just fell out of Serena's bag. And then she asked my brother. And my brother said, oh, those are Serena's. So after that, my brother came in my room and he was like, do you think it's weird that the same underwear that Serena was wearing before she left ended up in the car? So I guess she had the underwear on literally before she left the house. Dumb alert. Anyway, so a few weeks later, Serena breaks up with my brother. Well, around the same time, my dad started staying after work really late, like every day of the week. Well, long story short, my mom went through his phone because she felt like something was going on, and she reads a conversation between my dad and Serena. Like, oh, I'm so sad that you couldn't come to the ultrasound. So then my mom and him divorced, and he's currently raising his child with Serena.
One time I was behind the register at Victoria's Secret. This customer walks in and immediately everybody spots her as a red flag. She's just picking up items, throwing them in her bag, not looking at sizes, not looking at colors. So everybody's like, everyone's on their walkie like, watch this customer. She's coming to the fitting room. She's headed to the cash wrap. Somebody get her. Check her ID. Get her. Get her. She has a bag full of stuff. And guess who gets her at the register? Me. So she comes to my register and she dumps out her stuff and we're having a regular conversation. Hi, how are you? Yada, yada, yada. Her total comes up to probably between $700 to $900. It was expensive. My manager is at the register next to me talking to me on the walkie. Ashley, make sure you get that ID. Don't matter what she's using, make sure you get that ID. So I ask her for the ID because she's paying credit. Why do you need to ask for my ID? Just take it, run it. I'm like, no, ma'am, I'm sorry. I need your ID for the purchase. She starts to raise her voice at me. So she's raising her voice at me. And I'm like, but I couldn't. I just couldn't, y'all. So I was like, I can raise my voice too. Do you want to play this game? Because I'll win, promise. And she's like, oh, well, what time do you get off work? And I'm like, I'm closing. I'm actually getting off at 11. Would you like to pick me up? And then she calls me stupid. She's like, you're stupid. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna eat that. Then she calls me a dumb. Whew. So I took a deep breath. And I said, your broke ass can't even afford these clothes and you over here trying to scam me. Fuck off my line. And honestly, me and her just started going back and forth at each other like, My manager's like, go to the back, go to the back, go to the back. I'm still cursing her out as I'm walking to the back of the store. I really thought I would get fired, but I actually didn't.
My wedding was on September 21st, 2019. My cousin from my stepdad's side brought her boyfriend that she'd been seeing for about 6 months. And I've only seen him once before my wedding. We're all having a great time, and the next thing I know, my cousin's boyfriend asks the DJ for the mic and goes to the center of the dance floor saying he has a special announcement to make and calls my cousin over. So I rush over and say, nope, no one is getting engaged during my special day, especially during my reception. You can get engaged later tonight, but not right now. It's my day. Thank you for understanding. And I go to walk away. My aunt, which is my cousin's mom, starts yelling at me and calling me an entitled brat. It causes a huge fight and they all end up leaving. My stepdad's mom says I was wrong and told me to apologize and call them over and allow him to propose. Needless to say, it didn't happen. Flash forward to Christmas. It was terrible. My stepdad's entire side was there and they were rude and ignoring my husband and I the entire time. And of course, my newly engaged cousin announces her wedding date, which is September 21st, 2020. I'm beyond pissed and not planning to go. It's my 1-year wedding anniversary. My cousin says they chose to get married on their 1-year engagement anniversary. But I don't.
This is why you shouldn't let just anybody around your kids. Wear a mask while you watch this story time. I promise you're gonna want to. So when I was around 15 years old, I started doing really bad in school. My parents were really poor and my dream was to go to college, so I needed to work my ass off so I could get a scholarship. But with how my grades were looking, it did not seem like I was gonna get one. My school offered after school tutoring classes, so I started taking them. Just in case I didn't get that scholarship, my parents started working late hours so they could pay for my college. They also hired a part-time babysitter / housekeeper. Mind you, my parents worked all day until super late at night. Our job was to arrive after we all left to clean up the messes that we didn't have time to clean up in the morning or the night before. Then she was supposed to pick me up from my tutoring classes, stay at the house and watch me until my bedtime, which was about 9 p.m. Then she was supposed to leave. But one day we were sitting at the kitchen table eating breakfast and we all catch a drift of this terrible smell. My dad finds out that the smell is coming from the basement. As soon as he opened the door, the smell just hits you in the face. We all go down there to check where the smell's coming from. We see a pile of human feces. Laying next to it is my babysitter. Part 2 of why you should never let just anybody around your kids. So we go to check out the smell in the basement, and there my babysitter is, laying next to a pile of her own shit. My parents wake her up and everyone's covering their mouth and nose with our shirt. I'll go upstairs because the smell. I let my parents deal with that. Literally. I hear my dad yelling at her and telling her to get out. She explains that she used to be a full-time nanny and she has nowhere else to go because they kicked her out. If she was on the floor, who the and kick her out. She says she did that because she gets really bad anxiety at night and can't go upstairs or we would hear her and wake up. Because you have anxiety does not give you the right floor. I have anxiety. Do you see me on the floor? So my parents kick her out anyways, like any reasonable person would. And we thought that was the last that we were gonna see of her. But one night at like 2 a.m. in the morning, I hear a tapping on my window. So I wake up and there's my babysitter staring at me through my window. She looks sad and she like motions for me to let her in. I'm looking at her like, no. And so that sadness quickly turns to anger and she starts banging on my window. Part 3 of why you shouldn't let just anybody around your kids. Like I said, my stalker ass babysitter is banging on my window at 2 a.m. in the morning. And so I quickly go to get my parents because what if she breaks that shit and breaks in? Once I leave my room, I hear the banging stop, but I still go to tell my parents what just happened. My dad calls the police and they check around the area and she's nowhere to be found. The smell goes away, we don't see her anymore, so we think everything's good now. But one day my mom texts me and tells me that she left me a tray of cookies on the dining table for when I get back from tutoring. Well, I didn't see any cookies or a tray. When my mom gets home, she wakes me up and asks me where I put the tray. I told her that I didn't even see the tray of cookies. So my mom tries looking for the tray because she needs it for when she cooks. She never finds it. Mind you, my family like never goes to our basement. But one day my dad needs some tools to help fix his buddy's car. He also notices that the tray we were looking for is in the basement. We're all freaked out at this point because our babysitter was secretly living in our house. Now things are going missing and being misplaced. And after looking around for any suspicion that she might have been there again, we notice a broken lock in the window of our basement. Part 4 of why you shouldn't let just anybody around your kids. So after putting 2 and 2 together and realizing that my babysitter had been sneaking into our house through our basement window, and also noticing that things have been going missing, we call the police and report her because it was just so obviously her. She did not do a good job at all at covering her tracks. When the police look her up, they say she has no criminal record and that she's not enlisted in any housing. So she was homeless. So my parents go ahead and fix the lock on our basement window. I'm guessing once she found out that she couldn't get in anymore, she stopped trying. So afterwards, my parents stopped working as much and I got a friend to start dropping me off at home after my tutoring classes. Once I would get home, I would do all the cleaning just to help my parents out. So then they could keep working their long hours so I could go to college. My parents were kind of iffy about leaving me at home by myself. Child, I could fight. So everything was good and we never saw her again.
This is a story of the time that I caught my neighbor's mom talking smack about me. So I don't know about you guys, but every single Wednesday in my middle school, we would have a bagel sale. And some people's parents would come in to help out. And my neighbor's mom was one of those parents. And I had a best friend at the time whose mom would also work at the bagel sales. But this best friend of mine, her mom never let us hang out with each other because she felt that I was a bad influence on her. When in reality, it was the complete opposite. She was the one that snuck the boys in her house where they peed in a flower pot. So basically her mom wouldn't let us hang out. And sometimes my friend would go with her mom in the morning, basically as a ride to school, and to help out with the bagels too. And one day when she went in with her mom, my neighbor's mom also was there too. So my friend starts eavesdropping into their conversation, and my friend's mom brings me up and says how much of a bad kid I am and a bad influence. And my neighbor's mom was like, "Oh wow, that's my neighbor. Like we always suspected something bad about her. Our whole entire neighborhood knows this about her." Basically making stuff up about me. So then I go home crying, tell my mom. Part 2 of catching my neighbor's mom talking smack about me. So my best friend tells me all these things that my neighbor was saying about me, obviously. And I got really upset, so I went home and I just started to cry. Because for some reason I felt like when I was younger, every one of my friends' parents hated me. And I never really knew why. I was always the type of person to let my friends do whatever they want and encourage them in doing whatever they want, whether that's breaking the rules or following the rules. So I mean, I guess that could be something, but I'm just being a supportive friend, Sorry, I got off topic. So when I told my mom, she was like, "Okay, come with me, I'm gonna knock on her door." And I was like, heck no, I do not feel like dealing with this. Mom, you deal with it. So she calls her up on the phone, puts her on speakerphone, confronts her about the situation, and this lady starts going on about how she loves me like I'm her own child, saying that I was never a bad influence on her daughter, and that she actually wanted me to hang out with her daughter more. That's not what she was saying at bagel sale.
This is why you should watch out for the nice guy. When I was 20 years old, I moved from Washington to San Jose. I started working for a large retail company and met a coworker named Chris in passing. He was always friendly and smiling. You know, a nice guy. We would chat here and there, but we were acquaintances at best. One day, I came to the store on my day off to grab a few things. He approached me and began small talk, leading up to asking me what my plans were for the rest of the day. I told him I didn't have any, and he convinced me to take a day trip to San Francisco with him so he could show me the sights. I was hesitant at first, but decided to go because it was a beautiful day for an adventure. He offered to drive, so I left my car in the parking lot. The entire day was wonderful. We had great conversations, and I got to see a lot of new places. I thought I had made a new friend. However, the later it got, I felt myself wanting to go home. We started heading back at 10 p.m., but as soon as I got in the car, I felt an instant shift in energy. Chris wasn't talkative anymore, but I shrugged it off to him being tired. 15 minutes before we arrived back at the store, he asked me if I wanted to spend the night. I politely declined, but he kept insisting. After declining a few more times, his demeanor became aggressive. This is when I started to panic because I realized that he wasn't going to let me out of his car. Part 2. Why you should watch out for the nice guy. My mind was racing as I thought of how I could get out of this situation. I put my hand in my coat pocket and felt my keys. When we were a few minutes away from the store, he grabbed my arm and kept telling me, "It will be fine. I'll sleep on the couch and bring you to your car in the morning." My heart was racing, thinking of what he was going to do to me. His eyes had darkened and his smile had faded. His face was dead serious and it sent chills through me. Thinking fast, I replied, "Okay, I'll stay the night, but I need to grab a few things for my car. Is that okay?" He hesitated for a moment and then agreed. As he slowly pulled up to my car in the desolate parking lot, I jumped out before he could fully stop. I unlocked my car with the remote, jumped in and quickly locked it after me. That's when he jumped out and started banging against my window, trying to open the door. Shaking with adrenaline, I slammed my foot on the gas and almost ran him over. I went to my friend's house that night, but knew I would see him again. He approached me a few days later at work, putting his hand on my shoulder and asking me, "Are you okay? You left in a hurry the other night." I quickly jutted away, but he followed closely behind me. I lost him at some point and avoided him for the next month. One day I walked into the store to see him being escorted out by 2 officers in handcuffs. We never found out why he was arrested, and luckily I never saw him again.
So this is probably my favorite story about my cheating ex. As many stories as I have on him, this one happened after we were broken up. He had left me for a girl that he was seeing on the side, and we hadn't spoken in months. We had both blocked each other on pretty much everything. But as most girls do, I do have my fake Instagram account, and he seemed pretty happy in his new relationship. I believed that until I got a DM from a girl. She sent me screenshots of messages and fake accounts that he had made to communicate to her. So he had literally been cheating on the girl that he was with now with her the whole time. I literally don't understand people sometimes. Both him and I were in the same friend group, mostly because we pretty much grew up together. So I talked to another member of the group about what we should do. Now, I believe in karma and that people get what they deserve, but who's to say that I'm not karma? So we decided to show up to his house with not only the girl he was cheating with, but all the girls he cheated on me with. And take care of this, I kid you not, game show style. The thing that shocks me the most about men is the audacity. I don't know what the comments are going to be yet, but I want to clarify 1, that him and I were best friends for a long time before dating, so that's why we had the same friend group. 2, kind of bold to show up at someone's house, kind of also bold to cheat on someone, but we were neighbors. So we went in, microphone in hand, and announced each girl one by one. He was speechless. Like, he didn't even know what to say. If you've ever just seen someone like entangled in so many lies that he thinks that he's never gonna get caught for, all of a sudden get caught for all of them, that was it. When his friend went in, he was like, "Hey, do you have something you want to share with me? Like, what's been going on in your relationship?" He admitted to nothing. So that's why we announced girl number 1, girl number 2, girl number 3, until we were all there and he had no choice but to tell us the truth. So yeah, don't be a scumbag, don't cheat. And if you do, karma will happen eventually, even if it's years down the line.
One day I got these shoes from Target, and I got home and I started unboxing the shoes, and inside the box there was a little note. On the note it said, "Today's your lucky day, come to this address to get your prize." So automatically I was like, oh my god, David Dobrik is gonna give me Tesla, you know what I mean? I showed my brother the address and the note and everything, and we went. So we pull up and then we knock on the door and this old lady answers. She's like, "What do you want?" And then we give the note and we're like, "We found this note." And she's like, "Oh yeah, 1 second." And then she goes to get something. So the old lady comes back with like this stone and she gives it to me and she's like, "Here, keep this stone. It'll keep you safe from all the spirits." I was like, okay. So the night of, I was keeping the stone in my room, but I just could not sleep. I felt like someone was looking at me and I was really scared. Like, I literally felt like someone was staring at me. I told my brother and we went back to try to give the stone back to the lady. She wasn't there, so we left it on her porch. Some way, after we left this stone at this old lady's house, it gets mailed back to me. And I never gave her my address. One time I had to babysit one of my neighbor's kids overnight. We're gonna call the kid Benny. The parents didn't really tell me anything when they left me alone with Benny, but they left me a note and they were like, "You can only open it in emergencies." So at this point, I'm alone with Benny. It's like 11 p.m. and I told Benny, I was like, "Dude, you should like get to bed. It's late." Then Benny starts getting really red and he's like, "No, we don't want to sleep alone. Sleep with us, please." I didn't know why Benny said us, but I was like, whatever, okay, like, yeah, I'll sleep in your room, like, it's fine. So fast forward a couple hours, it's like 3 in the morning at this point. This is the best part. Benny starts talking in his sleep and he's like, "Take her instead. You're not my friend anymore. I am not yours." And I try waking him up and I look at him and his eyes are wide open as he says this stuff. I was freaking out, so I went to go open the note that his parents said was only for emergencies. It just gets better. The note said, "We're sorry for not telling you. Run him a cold bath. Call 911 in case anything happens." What the After Benny was literally acting possessed while I was sleeping in his room, I went to go open the note that his parents left that was only for emergencies.
And guess what it said?
The note literally said, "Sorry for not telling you. Run him a cold bath and call 911 if anything happens."
I didn't know what to do, so I just went to go wake up Benny.
So when I woke Benny up, he was really, really mad, and he kept trying to put his hands in front of my eyes and was telling me, "Please be nice to them, open up." And so long story short, I ran Benny a cold bath, and then he locked himself in the bathroom. So at this point, Benny has literally locked himself in the bathroom, and he's literally yelling out loud, "Please take her, not me. I won't tell anyone."
This is the best part.
So I called the police because I was scared for my life at this point. And the note that his parents left said to do that. So the cops tried calling Benny's parents, but they couldn't get a hold of them, but they got a hold of the grandparents. And eventually his grandparents came. So his grandparents come and they're like, "We're gonna take him to a priest." And they told me to leave.